The unwanted gifts. It all began innocently enough, or so I thought, with a mysterious deposit of $250 into my bank account. It was a Tuesday, a day like any other until my budgeting app cheerfully notified me of the unexpected windfall. Confusion turned to suspicion as I realized the sender was an unknown entity labeled Aussie 2276. Naturally, I consulted my husband, but neither of us could identify the source. The initial thrill of free money soon gave way to unease. Scenarios of scams and ethical dilemmas flooded our discussions. My husband advocated for returning the money, citing ethical concerns, while I wavered, tempted by the financial relief it offered our family. We debated late into the night, voices strained from the weight of responsibility and exhaustion. The next morning brought a cryptic text from an unknown number, instructing me to photograph a stranger at a specified location later in the day. Alarm bells rang in my mind. It was no longer a simple case of mistaken deposit. Someone was orchestrating events, manipulating my actions through anonymous messages. Fear mingled with anger as I received subsequent texts coercing compliance through promises of financial gain and veiled threats. The realization that my every move was being monitored filled me with dread. I complied with their demands out of fear for my family's safety, rationalizing each action as a means to an end. The pressure escalated, each task more intrusive and unnerving than the last. I felt trapped, a pawn in someone's twisted game. Even as I resolved to resist their demands, they always found a way to coerce me, exploiting vulnerabilities I dared not acknowledge. The turning point came when their intrusions invaded my physical space, a chilling reminder of their control. I found myself obeying their commands against my will, driven by primal fear and a desperate desire to protect my loved ones. The constant dread and anxiety took a toll on my mental well-being. I lived in constant fear of the next demand, the next intrusion into my life. Each deposit of money became a curse, a reminder of my powerlessness in the face of an unseen adversary. And now, waking up to yet another substantial deposit, I realize there is no escape from this nightmare. The stakes have risen, the coercion more insidious than ever. I am trapped in a cycle of fear and uncertainty, haunted by the knowledge that my life is no longer my own. The money, once a welcome surprise, has become a burden too heavy to bear. Each transaction feels like a countdown to something inevitable, something sinister lurking in the shadows of my existence. And as I struggle to maintain a semblance of normalcy, I wonder how long before the next demand pushes me past the breaking point. The weight of the money, both literal and figurative, pressed down on me like a lead blanket, suffocating any semblance of normalcy. The influx of cash had transformed from a glimmer of hope to a harbinger of dread, a stark reminder of my entrapment in a game orchestrated by an unknown, malevolent force. Days turned into weeks, and each morning brought a new deposit, each more substantial than the last. With each deposit, the demands grew more intrusive, more sinister. The unseen puppeteer reveled in their control over me, pulling strings I couldn't see but felt acutely in every fiber of my being. I tried to confide in my husband, to seek solace and a semblance of a plan in his rationality, but every time I broached the subject, a shadow passed over his face, a flicker of fear that silenced his voice and tightened the knot in my stomach. It was as if the mere mention of our predicament invited unseen eyes and ears into our midst, amplifying our vulnerability. The turning point came on a night shrouded in darkness and whispered threats. I had resolved to confront the source of my torment, to seek answers or at least an end to the relentless game. Armed with a determination born of desperation, I traced the deposits, following digital breadcrumbs through a labyrinth of transactions and false leads. The trail led me to a nondescript building on the outskirts of town, a facade of normalcy masking the sinister machinations within. With trembling hands and a heart pounding in my ears, I stepped into the belly of the beast, unaware of the horrors awaiting me. The interior was a stark contrast to the mundane exterior, a twisted reflection of my fears and nightmares. Dimly lit corridors stretched endlessly, each door a portal to unknown horrors. Whispers danced on the edge of perception, tantalizing and terrifying in equal measure. As I navigated the labyrinthine maze, a sense of foreboding settled over me like a suffocating cloak. I was not alone. Shadows flitted at the edge of my vision, whispers grew louder, morphing into mocking laughter that echoed through the empty halls. At last, I reached a door devoid of any markings or identifiers. Instinct warred with fear as I hesitated, the weight of the unknown bearing down on me. With a deep breath that did little to steady my nerves, I pushed open the door, crossing a threshold into a nightmare made flesh. The room beyond defied logic and reason, a twisted tableau of monitors and wires, a technological web spun by a mad spider. And there, seated in the center like a puppet master orchestrating a macabre symphony, sat a figure cloaked in darkness. "Welcome, Lynn," a voice, cold and calculated, pierced the silence. "I see you've followed the trail as expected." My voice caught in my throat, a thousand questions vying for release but frozen by fear and disbelief. The figure chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth or humanity. "You've been a most entertaining pawn in my game, Lynn, but all games must come to an end." The monitors flickered to life, revealing scenes from my own life, moments I thought were private laid bare for the unseen voyeur's amusement. Anger and revulsion warred within me, fueling a desperate courage born of indignation. Why? The question escaped my lips, a whisper in the oppressive silence. The figure leaned forward, features still shrouded in darkness but eyes gleaming with a twisted glee. Because I can, Lynn. Because the world is a stage, and we are all actors in a grand production of suffering and chaos. The realization hit me like a physical blow, a sickening understanding of my role in this sadistic spectacle. I was not a victim but a player, manipulated and coerced into a dance of despair for someone's perverse pleasure. With a surge of defiance, I lunged for the nearest monitor, fingers grasping wires in a futile attempt to sever the connection binding me to this nightmare. The figure merely chuckled, a sound that reverberated through the room like a death knell. "You can't escape, Lynn. You've danced to my tune for too long." But desperation fueled determination, and in a final act of defiance, I pulled the plug, plunging the room into darkness punctuated only by the glow of exit signs mocking my futile rebellion. As I stumbled into the night, gasping for air tainted by the stench of betrayal and deceit, a sense of liberation mingled with dread. The game was over, but scars, both seen and unseen, would forever mark my soul. Days turned into months, and life struggled to regain its rhythm. The deposits ceased, the digital leash severed, but the wounds of the past festered, a constant reminder of the fragility of sanity and the depths of human depravity. And yet, amidst the darkness, a glimmer of resilience emerged. I refused to be defined by the horrors inflicted upon me, choosing instead to reclaim agency and purpose in a world teetering on the edge of madness. The nightmares still visit, whispered echoes of a time when I danced on strings pulled by an unseen puppeteer. But with each waking moment, I reaffirm my strength, a survivor forging a path through shadows cast by monsters real and imagined. The story of the unwanted gifts, of coercion and fear, serves as a cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones, a reminder that behind every digital facade lurks a potential abyss. And as I share my tale, a cathartic release of pent-up anguish and defiance, I dare to hope that somewhere, someone hears the warning and chooses a different path. But in the silence of the night, when darkness threatens to engulf reason, I remain vigilant, a sentinel against unseen predators lurking in the digital shadows, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unspeakable horrors.